He is back. Antonio Brown is back in the NFL. Mr. Trouble. Let's say about a year and a half ago, the Steelers, with the great coach Mike Tomlin, couldn't handle him. They had to let him go. He then went to the Raiders, which would have been a fantastic fit for him. He ended up acting a fool, and they had to let him go. Then he was out of the league. Subsequently, he was suspended this past July for the first 8 games of this season. And that's why he was not in the league until now. He has been signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Thank goodness that he has a fan in Tom Brady. Apparently, from the Raiders he went to um, the Patriots, and that's where he played with Brady, obviously. And he lasted all but about 11 days in New England before he was once again let go and released and out of work. So no one doubts Antonio Brown's talent. AB is a talented ball player. He's been the best football player, one of the best football players, but certainly when he was playing consistently, he was by far usually the top receiver in the NFL, just based on production alone. I mean, 100 catches, 15, 1,800 yards. He was always up there. So, talent is definitely not the issue. Whether or not AD is worth the money, that's not even a question. Um, it has been more of a question of AD's uh, mental fitness, his mental health, because especially in the last 2 years, his behavior, his self-destructive actions and conduct is the only reason why people even have a second thought about bringing a guy like Antonio Brown onto their team, because he automatically makes your offense a high-powered, potent offense just by bringing him onto your squad. So, no doubt, he makes the Bucks, whose wide receiving core has been basically on limp mode. They've been hurt, and so Tom Brady, his ability to spread the ball and stretch the defense has been quite limited because Evans has been hurt. I mean, just about everybody they've had, for Goodwin, you name it. They have some very good receivers, but they've been hurt. And so Brady, we haven't really felt or seen the full capability, the full measure of Tom Brady's move to Tampa Bay. And yet, I believe, as we stand, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 4-2. So they're a good team, and they are in position to make the playoffs. And Brady has plenty to prove. So you just don't know what's going to happen. But AD and Brady apparently mutually became respectful of each other during the brief time that Brady and and AD played together in New England. Brady always is always begging for a high-powered wide receiver, always, and that's how you got people like Randy Moss was with Brady, and obviously they put up Hall of Fame numbers together. And then they briefly even brought, I believe, Chad Ochocinco to New England. They've had all kinds of receivers coming in out of New England, and Tom Brady always, I guess, wants the deep threat, because obviously that's the game. So if pairing a Hall of Famer like Tom Brady up with Antonio Brown with his speed and his capabilities and his route running, um, if and that's a big if Antonio Brown can play a whole season without the demons coming out of him, this could be a tremendous football team. Again, with all the injuries, they are at 4-2. Brady is still Brady. He still has it. Anybody that doubted it, he's shown it. Yes, he's still a 40 something year old football player, quarterback, but he's still Tom Brady. And half Tom Brady is it's worth more than 100% of most quarterbacks in the league. So yes, Tampa Bay says, to New England, they're like, yeah, I will take him. Thank you very much. And so that's uh, I think it's working out. It's working out for Tom Brady. Um, and with AB coming on board, this is the danger. The danger. The danger with AB is that, again, I don't want to beat up on the man's mental state, but let it be said, that is a huge issue for a lot of teams. In fact, I mean, Seattle wanted him, and I'm sure a bunch of other teams would have wanted AB if the Bucks and Brady hadn't gotten him. But I'm sure the hesitation was, again, his ability to control himself and to respect teams, teammates, coaches, respect the game, and respect himself. And that has been an issue for him. But if he can play, if he can just, oh man, if AB can basically just let his talent speak for itself, his talent be the only thing we know and hear about, uh, he will be. Um, he's 32, and as a receiver in the NFL, he's basically got a couple of years left, if that, to settle down and finish out his career with a bang. If he really wants to maintain a potential Hall of Fame career, which by all accounts, before the last couple of years, he 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 was headed. He's headed to he's headed to the Hall. He's headed to you know to Canton. But that's the only issue with that young man. That's the only issue with AD. If he can settle down and play the rest of this season, because he only has a 1 year contract, he plays. He shows he can control himself. He shows he can be a good teammate. And in my view, most likely the Bucks will be back because they have Brady for 2 years. So anything can happen if Tampa Bay gets back on a full force with all the injured players returning. And do you add Antonio Brown to Tom Brady and all those weapons they have there? They could make it to the playoffs. I mean, most likely they will be in the playoffs. Now, whether or not or how deep in the playoffs it could go is a whole different story. Because the NFC is not. The NFC is tough. It's tough this year. The NFC is tough this year. They have to go through a whole lot of people to go deep into the playoffs, and there are people that are talking Super Bowl, but I'm not one of those people. With AB, that's it. That's not really a Super Bowl made, but anything can happen. They would have to go through the Seattle Seahawks. They would have to go through the Seattle Seahawks, and there are some good teams in the NFC that would really give problems to the Bucks, even with a Antonio Brown. And so let's see what happened. He just got to let's see what ESPN and Adam Schefter had to say on the announcement of this big news in the NFL.
Working the Antonio Brown story for ESPN, and there's a lot to work through here, Adam. Let's start with how the Bucs and Brown and Brady get together when most of the conversation appeared that he was going to be with the Seahawks.
Well, it's a situation, John, where basically Antonio Brown was eligible to be reinstated after week 8. And so teams were doing their due diligence, including the Seattle Seahawks, including the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in recent days, the Buccaneers got seriously involved with Antonio Brown. And I believe that Tom Brady drove that largely. Tom Brady remembered playing with Antonio Brown for that brief period in New England last year, wanted to play with him again. And even though there were people in Tampa who at one point thought Antonio Brown wouldn't wind up there and said as much basically publicly, the tone changed. And it changed because this team is 4-2, because we're almost halfway through the season, because Tom Brady wants him, because they've had some injuries at the wide receiver position, and they thought that it was worth rolling the dice on Antonio Brown right now.
This is not the first time circumstances have changed in the NFL, where a guy before didn't look like he was destined for someplace, he shows up there. You touched on this a little bit with Tom pushing for it, and maybe some injuries and the record at 4-2. But what do you suppose changed with Arians? Because at some point, he's still a boss who's going to have to put him out there.
Well, John, let's keep in mind that was almost 2 years ago. And 2 years is an eternity in the NFL. And last year, they went through the season they did with Jameis Winston. And this year, with Tom Brady playing quarterback, they have a chance to make a real playoff push. And I think when you've got that opportunity and you've got those injuries and you've got the quarterback wanting the player, I think that tells you a lot. And if you look at this and break it down, think about it this way. You had Russell Wilson and Geno Smith, the two quarterbacks in Seattle, pushing for Antonio Brown to wind up as a Seahawk. You had Tom Brady in Tampa pushing for Antonio Brown to wind up as a Buccaneer. When you've got the backing and the support of the most powerful players in those organizations, that gives you a real chance to change some minds the way that Bruce Arians once thought, and to make it such that now Brown has a 1-year agreement with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, certainly strong guys and probably control that locker room and to some extent probably make sure that Brown does what is supposed to be done there. Finally, just some last things, or what else is there for him to do before he gets out on the field?
Well, he's going to have to pass through the COVID protocols. They're going to have to go over the language in the contract. So all of these things still need to be done and addressed. But it's no accident, John, that it's getting done now in week 7, because that will give Antonio Brown 5 days to pass through the COVID protocols. And assuming he passes through those protocols, that will put him on track to be able to practice with the Buccaneers and to potentially play in week 9 against the New Orleans Saints. Think about that. Tom Brady, Antonio Brown, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the New Orleans Saints. Hard to imagine that scenario, but that's the scenario that we are now staring straight at unfolding in week 9. Antonio Brown back in the NFL at that point in time.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube.
Wow. There you have it. And that was Adam Schefter uh, reporting on ESPN on this big news in the NFL. It's significant. Again, if Antonio Brown can last for a season and play and let his play do all his talking for him, this is going to be a fantastic opportunity for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tom Brady. So I think many people are excited. They automatically become a must see on TV whenever they are on. Because first of all, hey, they have A-list players on there. So we I think they're gonna do it. I think they're gonna do it. I'm praying for AD, AB. I hope he can do it. He's a fantastic player. The league needs him. It's fun to have him out there with his speed and his talent and his antics too. But it's just the craziness. It's the crazy that most of us uh, can't take too much of. However, I'm looking forward to seeing him play. I think he'll be fantastic talent on the field. Hopefully, he will adjust. If he needs some meds, he should get on his meds. You know, smoke some weed or something to calm yourself down, Antonio, because this opportunity, if you burn this bridge, I definitely don't see you ever returning to the league. Well, who knows? With the type of talent you have, uh, I'm sure another team will be like, come on board. Come on. We got you. Speed kills. Speed is a commodity, and it's hard to find people with this type of world class explosiveness and speed that Antonio Brown brings to a team. So hopefully he can settle down and he'll contribute as expected. I don't know how much in shape he seems like he's been working out throughout the COVID from some of the things he posts on social media. He's an excellent athlete, and I'm sure if all goes well with the COVID testing and he's cleared to play, he's gonna show up and he's still gonna be able to blow by people who have been playing, who are in shape, in game shape. When you have that type of blazing, like the Flash, that type of speed, it doesn't take you long to be able to make an impact on the field. So hopefully he's able to do just that. Uh, he's going to be able to play in week 9, as Adam said in the clip. Week 9 against the Saints, which would be just it's a ridiculous division matchup against Peyton and Breeze and the rest of them, Camera and the rest of the New Orleans Saints. That would be a heck of a matchup. And the Saints, their defense is not shabby either. So it won't be a cakewalk for Antonio Brown and Tom Brady. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully he will be in shape and he will be cleared to play that game. That will be probably most likely guaranteed to be the game of the week. What a game! I'm excited just thinking about the possibility of that game happening and watching that be AB's first game back. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm hoping for the best because I think all in all, regardless of what's been happening, Antonio Brown is a heck of a talent. He's a tremendous athlete, and hopefully he'll share some of his gifts with us before he's out of the league. And hopefully, when that time comes, he goes out of the league on his own terms and it's not let out in disgrace, because otherwise, the history of sports will be very brutal to Antonio Brown. So far, at this point, it will be brutal to Antonio Brown with respect to the last 2 years. So he's got some making up to do. He's probably, with his talent and having not been beaten up the last 2 years much, he's probably got a solid 2, 3 years left to make some noise and hopefully get back on track to the Hall of Fame credentials that he was on prior to this blip on his record. So, hey, like you, I'm looking forward to it. So, Kwasi's out for Sports Rap. Hey, we'll talk soon. Watch some sports this weekend. I'm going to get back on here in a little bit and break down some football. Peace out. Peace out. Peace out.